This is Studio 809.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Outdoors Hiking Bob podcast. I am your host, Hiking Bob Falcone, and you can find me on my website, hikingbob.com, which has links to my social media, what there is of it. I'm getting back into the Instagram thing. My columns at the Colorado Springs Independent, which are back now every 2 weeks, and also the other podcasts we've done, my photography website, all of that stuff at hikingbob.com. And also, you can help support this podcast by clicking the link there for Patreon, patreon.com/hikingbob. Help support this podcast. We always can use your support, and we appreciate the existing and some very long-term Patreon members who help support this podcast. And also you can contact me if you have any questions, comments, suggestions. Our most recent podcast before this one was because of a listener who called in with wrote in with a suggestion, and that turns out to be one of my most popular ones so far. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. And you can also just sign up for my newsletter, which comes out sometime on the weekends, sometimes Saturday, sometimes Sunday. If I'm really far behind, maybe Monday morning. But anyway, it comes out once a week. Joining me today is a familiar voice to many of you out there who've been listening to podcasts for a while, but because we've changed the format a little bit, not on here quite as often. But today, Kevin Wild Westendorf joins me.
Hey everyone, it's Kevin Wild Westendorf here, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Wild Westendorf. You can email me Kevin@wildwestendorf.com, and my website, which is wildwestendorf.com, and Wild Westendorf, Wild Westendorf, Wild Westendorf. There. I think I've said it enough times.
Kevin, glad to have you back. We've had some really great interviews over the last couple of weeks. Derek Lugo, who is the unlikely thru hiker, he was a great interview. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to it yet, but
no.
The people who have just enjoyed the heck out of it. He was a lot of fun to talk to, and that one was based on a listener who wrote in and said, I don't know if you've heard about this guy. I hadn't, but he would be a lot of fun, and he was. So keep those suggestions coming in. I can't swear that we can get all of them. Maybe they don't fit. Maybe they don't want to do it. We never make anybody feel like they have to do this podcast, except maybe our elected officials. We're going to lean on them a little bit. But in any case, if you have a suggestion, if you know somebody out there, make a good potential guest for the podcast, by all means, let us know. And I've enjoyed the heck out of having people on here. We're looking at a book right now showing Kevin earlier. That's interesting. We may have that author on here pretty soon. Also, in August, we ran a little long between podcasts, and I just want to explain that we didn't intend to go 3 weeks between podcasts in August, but at the last minute, we had a cancellation. I had a cancellation, and it was very last minute. I didn't feel like, I couldn't get to you, Kevin, it was just extremely last minute. So that pushed things back a week and rearranged things a little bit. But here we are. We're back here right after the beginning of September, right after the second week in September. Labor Day was a week or so ago.
Already, yeah.
Fall is beating on our doorstep here. We've got bird feeders in our backyard. And we've got a garden in our backyard. The last couple of days, the birds are eating us out of house and home. I've had to fill up the bird feeders like every other day.
Oh, wow.
I think they're fattening up and getting ready for winter. It's whatever's going on, they are all over the place. So fall's coming. Any day now, we'll have fall here. Kevin, what have you been up to since we last talked? It's been a little bit. So what's been going on with you?
Well, major development is I've got a job now.
Yay!
The long national nightmare is over.
My favorite Gerald Ford quote.
And it's what I used to do before to work at the food bank. It's really exciting. It's inventory management. So, but I'm glad to be back in familiar territory. Glad to not have to do the job search anymore. And because job searching is soul sucking.
It's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now I can finally reprioritize things in my life and focus on getting back on my feet, get back into hiking shape like what I used to do, instead of the occasional hike here and there. I really want to make that back into a regular weekend thing. So yeah, right now I'm just finding a new rhythm in life right now. So.
Good. Well, I'm glad you did. And Inventory control is kind of what you did. You did it before you went to the food bank. Is what you did at the food bank, right?
Yeah.
So you're back in your niche, so to speak. So I'm glad that you've found something that you're gonna like doing. I mean, that seems to be the thing you seem to do really well. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're back in there. So you want to get back into doing some hiking, and you and I kind of talk about what our future plans are. Do you have anything coming up now that you've got a rhythm or a schedule? You got anything you want to do soon?
Well, I'm gonna be my next hike that I intend to do this weekend is a hike I've been wanting to do for a very long time. It's local, and it's kind of a self-created loop in Cheyenne Canyon. Not self-created. It's a self-made loop following actual trails. So it's not off trail or anything. And I got the route from a friend of mine a few years ago, and I've just been wanting to do this loop. And I don't want to say too much about it. I want to wait till I actually do it, but before I reveal what the loop is. But I'm very, very excited to do it.
This loop I might know about.
You may or may not.
Okay.
You'll know the trails that are used, obviously, but but this loop is not a well-known loop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what it is. So
Cool.
I'll wait till this weekend and wait for you to post it. Then I'll go take a look at it and go, what the heck was that? Cool. Well, that's good. I'm glad you got stuff, you're ready to go and in the quiver, so to speak, and ready to get back out there. Anything else you got exciting going on, or anything did you get to do much hiking since the last time we talked to you?
Yeah, just the hikes in Red Rock Canyon and Bear Creek Canyon, Bear Creek Park, just smaller stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Nothing wrong with that at all. So a couple things that have happened since you and I last talked, and some people who follow me on, especially if they follow my newsletter, would know that last Wednesday, a week before this comes out, was my last meeting with the City Parks Department's Trails, Open Space, and Parks, TOPS, Working Committee. I'd been there 6 years, 4 years as the chair, a little over 4 years as the chair. And people may not know this, but, in Colorado, every elected official at the state and local level is term limited. So you can do 2 terms, no more than 8 years, and then you have to leave that position. Well, that even applies, at least in Colorado Springs, to positions appointed by City Council, which the Parks Board was. The same thing happened at the county when I was at the El Paso County Parks Board.
Oh, okay.
Term limited out. You can do 6 years and you've got to go. So that happened with me. It was 6 years. It was time to go. And I get asked a lot about, has it hit me yet? Or, to be fair, it was a volunteer thing, but I did put a lot of time into it. So it wasn't like when we're sitting in my office with all my fire memorabilia hanging around us here. It's not like when I left the fire department that I'd been doing for 38 years or anything like that. It wasn't like retiring from that. When I started that, we were having meetings in person, and then COVID hit, and we were doing meetings remotely, and then COVID kind of went away, and then we were doing things kind of in person and kind of remotely and kind of hybridized meetings. And I was running those meetings during COVID remotely from my office with a laptop computer, an iPad, and a cell phone, trying to keep everything organized, running these meetings with people calling in and all our members all over the place on camera and stuff like that. We got a lot of stuff done while I was there. We navigated a lot of things that some were controversial, not intentionally, but they ended up being controversial. We got the TOPS program reauthorized while I was there. So, I mean, we did a lot of stuff there. But, it's good to have a change. The good thing about term limits is that you bring in new people. Well, they're not the same people you had before. So the people to replace me there are not the same people I am. They don't necessarily have the same thought process I do or anything like that, but they're smart, intelligent people who care about the outdoors. So they're still going to be great advocates for the outdoor and for the program. It's a bit different. All of a sudden, my calendar is cleared up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And that's good. And I won't be making as many trips home from vacation to attend meetings. And to be fair, I didn't have to do that. But I felt that as a chair, it was my obligation to be here. So I imposed a lot of things on myself that weren't necessarily required. But I felt that it was, I had to set an example, and that was kind of how I did it. But in any case, I got a very nice plaque from the Parks Department. And,
oh, good.
the one thing I learned from being there, I went in there knowing a fair amount about the TOPS program. I found out that no matter how much you think you know, you don't until you get in there.
Oh, yeah.
And you get in there to the nitty gritty, and you kind of get armpit deep and kind of seeing how things work. But the other thing I came away with was how hard our Parks Department staff works. From everybody from the director on down, they work very hard. They're very passionate about what they do. They really do care, regardless of what you might hear some people on social media say. They really do care about what's happening with their parks, and that they make the best that they can for everybody to enjoy. And they really are passionate about it. And when they do these surveys and they ask the public what they want and they have these meetings, they really do want to know. And they do take what people say into consideration. I've been there, saw it firsthand, that changes were made based on feedback they got from the public and stuff like that. So it was time for me to go, and I'm a little bit relieved.
I bet.
I've already had people say, can you come and be on our committee or our board? And my answer is right now, no. I need a bit of a break. And, we talked, I did 6 years at the TOPS Working Committee. Before that, 6 years at the County Parks Advisory Board. Before that, on the Friends of Cheyenne Canyon. So for about 15 years, I've been doing one thing, and I'm still on the Friends of Cheyenne Mountain State Park till the end of the year. So for about 15 years, I've been doing something or other to do with parks. It's going to be good to just take a little bit of a break. I'm still going to be an advocate, still going to be writing my columns, still going to be doing these podcasts. But it's going to be nice to take a little bit of a break, kind of sit back, and do a lot of things that haven't been able to get done because I've been, with scheduling. Again, I'm not saying this because I want anybody to feel bad for me or anything. I chose to do all this stuff. I also chose that now's the time to not do any more of this stuff. It's why I'm not I've been asked, what am I going to do? I'm going to do a whole lot of nothing for a while because I think I've just earned it. Yeah, I think I've just earned it. So, any case, that's the big thing that has happened with me. I am eternally grateful for having had the opportunity and the privilege to serve on the committee. And the people, things have changed because terms overlap. We all don't leave at the same time. There has been great people on that committee before, when I got there and when I left. And some of those names and faces have changed, but they've all been great people. And the people who are coming in, we had alternates who were going to step in because along with me leaving, another member left. We both came on at the same time, so it was his turn to leave also. We have two alternates who are great. And they're going to be really good advocates, and they're very thoughtful. And, I was on the interview committee that helped select them. They're going to be really great. So it's going to be a really good committee. I don't leave there thinking, boy, I don't know what's going to happen when I leave. I leave there going, this is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Everything's just going to be just fine. So, and for those of you listening, if you have the time and the passion, and you want to understand how your park systems work, next time there's an opening on a committee or a board or maybe at a friends group, sign up.
It's totally worth it.
Put your name in the hat. You did it for a little while at Friends of Cheyenne Canyon. You will get a deeper understanding and a deeper appreciation of how things are done and why things are done the way they're done, and why sometimes a decision that would appear to be simple is not very simple. And the nuance, especially with TOPS, there's so many nuances to how things are done and legal requirements and restrictions, and they're all voter initiated, so they can't just change them at whim. It has to be done a certain way. You really get to pick up on how that's done, and you get to have a little bit of a say on how things are. The committee and even the Parks Board very rarely has a final say in anything. Eventually that does fall back to either the appointed staff or the elected officials, because they're the ones who are hired and paid to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, you do have, this is your chance to kind of have your say and advocate for what you'd like to have, and work with other people who have different priorities, and you get to understand their priorities, and hopefully you get them to understand yours, and you kind of work together to come to solutions and compromises and resolutions to issues and stuff like that. So definitely was well worth my time doing.
So I think you deserve to brag, but so tell me, what's your most proud moment of being on the board?
That's a good question. I guess getting it reapproved, getting the program reapproved. But we made some significant purchases while I was on there.
Okay.
Fisher's Canyon.
Yeah.
Next to Cheyenne Mountain State Park, in between there and the zoo. Big purchase. A Wild Horse Ranch out on the east side, which finally brings some 1,000 acres to the east side of the city, which is going to be valuable. The east side, because of competing interest with commercial interest in real estate developers, there hasn't been much land available to buy in the east side. Well, we grabbed a bunch of it. The addition of land at Blodgett Open Space was another big purchase.
That's right. I forgot about Blodgett. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. I mean, I guess the only thing I would say that is my most proud moment is just that I had the opportunity to be a part of it.
Okay,
I can't pin down, because it wasn't about me. It was about the whole committee working for the city. So it wasn't like I had an accomplishment per se. It was we all worked together to accomplish things. So I guess my biggest accomplishment was being able to be a part of it with the other really great members, past and present, who've been on there with me.
Cool.
So, and there's a couple things coming up that are going to be real important to the city. The e-bike policy, we're still trying to develop policy. My opinion is that that's gone on way too long. And to be fair, there are people at the Parks Department who agree that that's been going on way too long. And I've had to explain to people a number of times, and we're not going to get into it in detail here because there's a lot coming up in the next couple of months over that. But there are nuances, like I mentioned, with the TOPS ordinance and land they purchased that came with certain encumbrances, like deed restrictions and what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, there's a lot of things that came with those that you just can't make changes on your own. So if it said that you couldn't have a certain activity on there, you just can't decide we're going to change that. Sometimes we need to have lawyers involved. Sometimes we need to have the voters involved. Sometimes we need to have legal opinions involved. In other parks that are not purchased with TOPS, they're what I call legacy parks. The city council and the Parks Department can make changes with the swipe of a pen and just say we're going to change this. But when it comes to the TOPS program and land purchased that way and affected that way, that's a whole different thing because that's a whole different program. So people complain that it takes too long. Well, there's a reason why that is. Like I said, the e-bike policy took way too long to get done. After a false start a couple of years ago when they thought they had something, realized it wasn't going to work. But it's coming around. I know it's kind of a priority for the mayor, so we'll see how things go. I don't know what's coming. I know the results of the survey, which are now public information because it came out at the last TOPS meeting, and they'll come out at the Park Advisory Board meeting that's going to happen right after this airs. And what the survey said was mostly people are, by a not I wouldn't say a huge majority, but people are in favor of e-bikes to a certain degree. Again, there's a lot of nuances. Which ones you want? There's class 1, class 2, class 3. They do different things. You can make your head hurt trying to understand all of it. I will say this. There have been some people who have said that we don't need voter approval to change the TOPS ordinance, to which I have argued at length and sometimes rather vehemently that they were wrong. That you make a change to that thing, it has to be done by a vote of the people. That's the way it was created. That's the way it was intended. That's the way it has to be done. Every change that's ever been made to that program has been done by a vote. And I get that we may disagree on this, and it comes down to definitions of some things. But one of the comments that was made to me by somebody was, and I'm going to paraphrase this, so don't take it that this was exactly the way it was said, but basically it was we can't trust the voters to be smart enough to understand all of it. I'm sorry.
That's condescending.
It's very condescending, and it's the voters have understood everything they voted on with the TOPS program since it was initiated. Now, not everything was approved. The first time TOPS was brought up to a vote, it did not pass. It passed the second time. On our last reauthorization, the first time we tried to reauthorize it, it did not pass. And it did not pass because, to be honest with you, it was so confusing, I didn't even understand it, and I know what was going on. But we worked things to make them understandable. The public is smart enough to say, if I don't get this, then you haven't made it clear enough to me. That doesn't make the public stupid. That doesn't make the public dumb. Doesn't make the public beyond being able to understand things. That means that we, at the time or they, the people who write these things, haven't made it clear enough for the average person to understand. That's a failure on their part, not the part of the voter. So for people who think, well, I don't trust the public to be smart enough to understand this, you're going down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Very condescending, and the voters are smarter than you think they are. Although sometimes I'll see somebody, usually from Florida, do something really stupid. And go, they let that person vote. Do not write me if you're from Florida. That's what's known as a joke, folks. But in any case, I have heard that from people. I do not like hearing that kind of talk from people.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those people who thinks the voters aren't smart enough to understand it, you're wrong. And to be honest with you, I have worked with some groups and given them my advice on a direction to go in. And they pretty much have ignored everything I've said. And that's a right to do that. But I've been around this long enough that I know how the voters think. And not that I'm trying to convince anybody to do anything, but I know how to present stuff to the voters to make it easy for them to understand and make an informed and smart decision. So, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it does, yeah.
Let's just say that instead of trying to strong arm something you want, my argument is that you should be working to convince the voters why they should be on your side.
Exactly, yeah.
The way anything should be. Right now we got a presidential election going on. Besides all the other BS that's going on there, what it boils down to is both candidates are trying to convince the voters why you should vote for them. That's the way you approach it. And that's what I've kind of recommended people do. Now, whether anybody follows nobody has to listen to what I say. It doesn't matter, but that's kind of the way I'm going. I've been doing this long enough that I think I know how this works.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
In any case.
Oh, yeah.
A couple things coming up, Kevin. Fall color season.
Yep.
Hoo boy. It's right around the corner.
And I'm already seeing trees in the city with yellow leaves.
Yeah.
Which is kind of early, it feels like.
You know, it invariably happens where a couple of leaves change colors and somebody goes, oh my God, the leaves are changing colors. Calm down. Now, there are a lot of predictions out there, some of which are saying things are going to be a little earlier. But a few leaves changing here and there does not mean the mass color change is coming. But obviously it does mean that it is around the corner.
Yeah,
So it obviously does mean that something is afoot and things are going to, be happening pretty soon. I am, for the first time in a lot of years, I'm going to go to the Western Slope.
That's awesome. Nice.
For photo. I was there a couple of weeks ago, spending a few days with a friend doing some hiking and photography, and I forgot how beautiful Highway 550 from Ridgeway to Silverton is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It ain't called the $1 Million Highway for nothing, folks. It's gorgeous. So I am going back there the first week in October, and I know some other photographer friends of mine we're all going to be kind of converging on that at the same time, and we're all kind of sharing loosely our itineraries, but it's all like, where are the colors now? That's where we're going today. But for the first time in a long time, I've forgotten how long it's been since I've been to the Western Slope, but my God, I forgot all about it. We're going to be going out there. And the bridge over Blue Mesa, which was closed.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And then open for short periods, is now open from, I think, 6:30 to 7:30, 6:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night. Still one-way traffic over part of it. You have to be escorted back and forth, but it's now open for most of the day. So that's making travel to the Western Slope a little easier. So people wondering what we're talking about Montrose, Ridgeway, Ouray, Silverton, Durango, that whole area. And Montrose is a little bit north of there, but it is the closest city of any decent size. That's where I'll be staying, and then going south from there. And Telluride is off to the side a little bit. So there's a lot of places to go there. And I am looking forward to what so far is promising to be a pretty epic fall color season.
Nice.
So, and then of course it hits here later in the month, later in October, beginning of November. It gets down here to the lower elevations where we don't have aspens, but we have a lot of other stuff that changes. Cottonwoods and things like that change colors, the scrub oak and things like that. So there's plenty of color to go around for a while. So we'll be seeing plenty here.
And we might be a little on the later side of it, but me and my friend have reservations to the Maroon Bells, first Sunday of October.
You're going to be right on the money. I think you're going to be right there.
Right there? Okay, good. Because there's different maps saying like different times, and it's the time that works best for us too with our schedules. But yeah, we have the whole plan to go to Maroon Bells. We got the reservations. And
I'm surprised you were able to get that.
I was shocked because I was just like, oh, it's all gonna be sold out now and stuff. But no,
yeah. You should be in pretty good shape. At the worst, you might be just a skosh early. You're definitely not going to be late.
Okay, good.
There's no way you're going to be late. That's still pretty early. You might be at the worst a couple days early, but you'll see some stuff out there. Going late's worse because then there's nothing. There's not even green. It's just, it's all,
Yeah.
No, you should be in good shape. I'm kind of jealous. Yeah, you should have a good time. Here's the thing. Everybody's got their opinion. I posted in my newsletter 2 weeks ago how one TV station in Denver ran a story where they had an expert who turned out to be a tree surgeon, and I'm not taking anything away from tree surgeons. Just hear me out here, who said, this is going to be a terrible season for fall colors. Okay. Then right after that, another TV station ran another piece, but this time using somebody who's like the state forester. Guy's been working in the field for 30 years. He said it's going to be a great season. Two people who are experts with two widely different opinions. Now, take whoever's opinion you want. I'm kind of going with the state forester who's been working in the state for most of his life. Just saying.
Yeah.
But hey, he could be wrong. I don't know. Here's the thing. And it's the same thing with the calendars we see, with the maps, with when things are going to hit.
Yeah.
If you think predicting elections and doing polling is tricky, try doing this where you have no control over it, because basically it's Mother Nature deciding when she's going to do stuff. Now, these people who do this are watching trends. They know how much water things got. They know what the temperature trends are going to be. They know all this stuff. But they're still just guessing. What I'm getting at is, don't pin it that, well, this thing says, October 5th is going to be the day to be out there. I'm not going out there on the 4th. No, if I were you, I'd go out there from the 2nd to the 10th.
Yeah.
So it's all fungible. It's all variable. It all just depends. But are they good guides? Yes, they are good guides. There's one that I've used, SmokyMountains.org, I think it is. I linked to it in my newsletter, that they've been pretty accurate over the last few years. There's another one called explorefall.com. They do one that's you can get much more localized on your map. They seem to be pretty accurate. They're slightly different in their predictions. Again, who knows? It's like when you hear stuff on social media, the truth is probably somewhere in between.
Yeah. Exactly.
But so far, it's all looking pretty good. Now, last year looked pretty good, but people who recall, near the Front Range here, especially the area from Mueller State Park down to Cripple Creek, ended up being less than we expected because of this mold that nobody predicted.
I remember that.
That killed kind of the color, but other parts of the state were gorgeous. You need to be ready to travel. You need to be prepared to travel. You need to, watch social media posts, pay attention. But getting back to one other thing about social media posts, there's been a distressing trend where people are posting fall colors pictures and getting people excited, and not posting when they post their pictures, oh, this was 5 years ago. Folks, if you're going to post your fall colors pictures,
I've seen that.
Will you post the date you took them so that people don't get overly excited? If you took it 5 years ago and it's a pretty picture, that's fine. Post your picture. But say that was 5 years ago or 2 years ago or last year, or you shot it in Montana a week ago when colors are already starting to change or whatever. But don't post it either. Don't say when it was, because this is when people are expecting to see current pictures.
Yeah.
It's if I posted a fall colors picture in April, obviously nobody's going to expect it. I just shot it. But we're falling into that season. People want to know when those pictures were taken. I saw somebody do it the other day. They posted a beautiful picture. They're a photographer. They should know better. Somebody had to ask them, when was this taken? Oh, that was last year. Can you put that in the description? You would think it'd be easier. And nobody's taking anything away from the great pictures you shot years ago. Just tell people they were years ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kevin, so that's what I've got coming up. So I'll be doing more hiking. I'm still dealing with some foot issues that sometimes slow me down a little bit. I just hit 500 miles on Monday, so I'm a little behind. I got 300 miles to go in the next 4 months of the year. Oh boy.
That's a lot.
The good thing is I'll be spending some time in Arizona. Weather's warmer. Days are a little longer because it's further south. So I'll be able to do some hiking. Hopefully I'll catch up. I usually catch up when I'm down there. So,
okay.
Boy, it might be 800.001 miles, but I'm going to try for that 800. I need about 300 miles to go. So we'll see what happens here.
If you have to on your last hike, just do a few laps around the parking lot. Just to get that 0.01.
I'll do it at a nearby park, so at least I can't say that I wasn't hiking someplace.
Yeah.
But your point is taken. Like, I need to go and get 0.02 miles. Let's see, that's 100 feet. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I'm still trying for 800 miles. But it's been a challenging year. The other part of it is Cole, as we know, had major knee surgery a couple years ago. He recovered from that just fine. He's had a knee injury on the other knee, which we are able to avoid surgery. And he's also getting older. He's coming up on 9 years old. He can't go as far as he used to. And I don't like leaving him home while I go for a hike unless it's someplace where I absolutely can't take dogs. So I try to go hiking with him, but he can't do 6 or 7 or 8 miles like he used to. He could do like 3 or 4, depending on the terrain. So that's limiting how many miles I'm getting also. So I may have to leave him home a little bit more often if I want to eat up the miles and get my 800 miles.
Oh, okay,
in.
I see.
You know, and it is what it is. Getting old sucks. I can tell you all about it. I had a milestone birthday a couple of months ago, and I'm beginning to feel every day of it. Anyway, Kevin, you got anything you wanted to talk? I've been just sitting here rambling on and stuff.
No, but those are my color plans. Are the Maroon Bells. I have a big hike planned. I'm intending to do it this weekend, and I love summer. I love it so much, but I'm definitely ready for fall.
I hear you. So, when you go out to Maroon Bells, you're going to take Independence Pass?
Yes.
It's still open, and that for fall colors, especially on the east side, will be to die for. All the way up through Twin Lakes, up over the east side, Independence Pass is going to be gorgeous.
Which is the route we're doing. So
you're going to go through. Then you're going to go through Buena Vista, and then come up that way and through. Yeah, perfect. That's going to be gorgeous in there. That is a beautiful spot.
And my friend has never been on Independence Pass. She went to Maroon Bells when she was a kid, so she doesn't really remember much from it. So she's really, really excited too.
Great. I think you got to enjoy it. Oh, by the way, I visited one of your favorite places a couple of weeks ago when I was coming back from the Western Slope. I took the long way. I went through Palisade because the Palisade peaches were just coming out.
Okay.
So I went up the Northway through Grand Junction, Palisade. I stopped at Rifle Falls.
Nice.
A little bit further off I-70 than I thought it was. A good 20 miles. Very small, but I got some nice pictures there.
Good.
I think that they turned out really good. I've been shooting waterfalls like a madman this year, and I plan on doing more of that. But the waterfalls there are pretty nice, and not very crowded. Not many people there. If there were people, kind of coming in and out, it took me just a couple minutes just waiting for them with my camera set up, ready to go. And when they got out of the picture, snap some pictures. But I did visit Rifle Falls. I know that's what you've said. The 20, except when you hit your head, but
yeah.
and I could see where that happened.
Yeah,
I think I saw the spot where that happened. When you climb up the steps on the left side there, and kind of like a little cave you can get into. Yep, I think I stood in that same spot, lining up my camera. I'm looking at that going, I bet that's got Kevin's scalp on it someplace up there.
And I remember my head was profusely bleeding, and I still was like, no, I still need to go to this other spot to take some more pictures. It's just because it's a very unique area, and I know the falls are man-made, but it's like you don't really see that anywhere else in this area of the country in terms of that type of little ecosystem.
Well, they're man-made only because of some excavation work they did. I mean, it's not like they actually rerouted or. Yeah. There's a place in Moab where there's a waterfall. And it's called Faux Falls, F-A-U-X Falls, because it's completely man-made. It's actually a place where the storm sewer drain comes in over the top of this cliff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And if you get it from, I've shot pictures of it, it's gorgeous, but if you shoot it from the right angle, you don't see the pipe.
Okay.
That's not the same thing with Rifle Falls, so if I remember correctly.
And I've been told that Rifle Mountain Park, it's not a state park, but Rifle Mountain, apparently that's also incredible.
Yeah.
It just, I made Rifle Falls my pit stop because it's such a small park. That was a pit stop, and because of plans I had to be in Grand Junction. Well, I hit my head, so I was like, okay, I should go to urgent care because
side trip to urgent care.
Yeah,
you're like me with cutting yourself.
Yeah, and that's when I learned your scalp bleeds a lot.
Oh yeah,
it's shocking. Yeah, so next time I'm in the area, I definitely want to spend a little bit of time in a Rifle Mountains too.
Yeah, there's Rifle, what they call Rifle Canyon, where the reservoir is. You go past there to Rifle Falls, and I guess Rifle Mountain is a little further up the road. Yeah. And then there's Harvey Gap, which is kind of in between off in another direction. But that's like Spinney Mountain down here in South Park, where it's pretty much just a fishing area. There's really not a lot of hiking or anything. It's pretty much just a place to go fishing, which is fine. But if you're looking for a hiking place, apparently Harvey Gap is not it. It's just a reservoir and fishing and stuff like that to do. Yeah, my trip back was from Montrose, where I was staying. I went up to Grand Junction, Palisade, picked up some peaches, went to
Cool.
Rifle Falls, came back down, then went down through, Glenwood Springs, Carbondale, Aspen, up over Independence Pass, hit it late afternoon just before sunset, got awesome pictures. Came down through there, went through Buena Vista, and came home through South Park.
And you really went the scenic route then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like a 12-hour day driving, but it didn't feel like because I had places to stop.
Yeah.
I had to put the peaches in the back of the Jeep or I would have ate them all on the way back. But yeah, I wanted to go to Rifle Falls. And I was initially not going to go there. I was going to go back over Blue Mesa and just head straight back, which is like a 3.5-hour drive. But I'm like, no, I want to see some of these things that I've been wanting to see. And I hadn't been in Aspen in ages, and certainly hadn't been over Independence Pass in a long time. So I kind of went the scenic route. I had no place else to be, so why rush home?
Yeah.
Other than to be home and with my wife and the fur babies, but other than that, it was like nothing. So I took my time, and
I've done that a bunch of times. Like on my way to and from Mount Whitney in California, I had an amazing time coming back from New Mexico because I went off the beaten path, and I've done it in Colorado where I've done the whole, like, I'm coming home from Utah. It's like, I'm just going to go down Glenwood Springs, Aspen, Independence Pass, and stuff. And if I have time, like, it's totally worth it.
Yep. Cool. One other real quick note this kind of escaped my attention until somebody asked me about it. Mount Blue Sky, which up until recently was known as Mount Evans.
Yeah.
There's a Colorado State highway that goes up there. Somebody was asking me about going up there in a couple of weeks, and I did some research. I did not know it, but they closed September 4th and will not open until Memorial Day 2026. So not this next Memorial Day, but the one after it.
Yeah.
Because apparently they're redoing the entire road all the way to the summit. So, and the road usually closes anyway in the winter because, it goes to 14,000 feet. And
Yeah.
it's not like the city where we, pave the road to the top. We plow the road to the top of Pikes Peak. They just close it. But if you plan on doing what used to be called Mount Evans, now Mount Blue Sky, and it's closed to all uses. No biking, no hiking up the road, no snowmobiling up the road. If you want to get to the top of Mount Evans, you got to do the trail. Good luck with that in the winter. But in any case, so that's the scoop with that. I just didn't even, somehow I missed that was a thing. But somebody asked me about the hours, and I looked up and go, the hours are none for about another year and a half, more than a year and a half. So anyway, the hours are none until Memorial Day-ish, because that's usually when they open it. You obviously going to depend on snow pack and stuff up there, but sometime around Memorial Day 2026 before you'll be able to drive or do anything other than on the trail up to the top of Mount Blue Sky. So not that matters to much people, but I just thought it was interesting, and that's a lot of road work.
I knew it was closed. I just didn't realize it was till 2026.
Yeah, I even had to look at that news release a couple times going, I'm reading this right, but that's what it says, 2026, which makes sense. If you think about it, they're closing the road now. Winter's going to be coming up. It'll barely be open by Memorial Day next year, so there's really no way it could open by next year.
Yeah.
They probably won't even start on it until Memorial. They might be doing some work now, but they might have, a month to go. And then, Memorial Day till Halloweenish is all the time they have to work on it. So it makes sense that's why it won't be open until 2026. If you sit back, it sounds like a long time. You think, well, here's this tiny window they have to work with it. And before and after that, it's closed anyway because of weather. So, yeah, it makes sense. That's why it won't open until then. So that's the scoop with that. Kevin, anything else?
No, it feels good to be back. So I look forward to the next time I'm back, and hopefully I have some exciting updates.
We'll bring you back. I promise we'll bring you back sooner.
Oh, no,
but
that's totally fine.
I will say, and thank you for all the feedback we've gotten from people. They are loving the interviews. They love hearing you.
Good.
They love hearing you on here, but they're loving the interviews. They really are really liking the interviews. It's been helpful to the podcast because our reach is getting bigger now because we're getting more of these figures that are known outside of just the local area. So that's pretty exciting.
Nice.
I don't think that's going to change. That this is still going to be twice a month, but we will try to not to make it 3 weeks between episodes if we can. August was just an anomaly. We had a last minute cancellation, and I was traveling and things were happening. We're just like, well, we'll just do it another time. But if you have suggestions for people who you think would make a good guest, and not that they do not have to necessarily be local to the Pikes Peak region. If it's an adventurer you've heard of who sounds interesting, or a photographer who sounds interesting, or a book author who sounds interesting, send me an email. Let me know, and I'll reach out. If I think they're a good fit, I'll reach out and see if we can get them on here. Sometimes we have to kind of twist arms a little bit. Not really. Anyway, anything else, Kevin?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for all your support and all the positive stuff we've heard about the interviews. And thanks for listening to the Outdoors Hiking Bob podcast.
We'll talk to you later.
See ya.